and and we are alive. So welcome, Guidely friends, Guidely community. Welcome to those of you who follow Coach Dar and are joining us. We are so excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Amir, I'm so grateful to be on. We've been talking about this. I was
Yeah,
just saying earlier, I felt like a Kentucky Derby horse that was waiting to get out of the gates to start the Derby. So now we're out of the gates. The Derby
yeah.
has started.
The derby has started. Absolutely. So I wanna take a few minutes to let people trickle in as
Hmm.
all the algorithms and the
Oh,
goddesses
yes.
of the different social media get together and decide if they
Hmm.
put us in front of people. But I see people are joining in. Those of you who are joining in, would love for you to put in the chat where are you from, and also what are you bouncing back from, if you're willing to do
Yes.
that. And it's so great to have you. I know you work with some really impressive people. I'm going to get into the introduction here in a minute. So allocating your time and spending it with us is really a privilege, and I'm really humbled that you said yes. So thank you for that.
Oh,
So
I'm humble that you asked me. So thank you.
uh, thank you. And I before another thing I'll do before I jump into the introduction of who Coach Dar is. um, we had a workshop with Dr. Shefali Tabari here from this studio just a couple days ago, just a few days ago, and we talked about
Hmm.
family and
Oh.
conscious parenting, and
Hmm.
your first page in the book is to your mom, and it
Yes.
really touched my heart. So she
Hmm.
was your master teacher in bouncing back.
She was. I mean, this woman was so resilient. She had she had her first triple bypass at 40 and had to recover from that, work 3 jobs. She had, I think, almost 10 surgeries before she left us just a few years ago, and which I still can't even believe. But I saw this woman bounce back from things constantly, and with such a humble spirit. And she never really complained about anything. She just got back up. She was like, if I'm still here, then I'm still going to get back up. So I learned from the best teacher there could be.
Oh, that's so
She was
beautiful. So
amazing.
so that really touched my heart. And her name is Lini.
Her name's Linda, but I called her Lenny. I'd always call her,
Lini.
go, Lenny, Lenny, what
So
are you doing
I'm
today?
inviting her spirit to be with us today. I feel like we could use her spirit to be with us today,
Oh,
if
I
that's okay
love
with
it.
you. Yeah.
Yes, Lenny.
So, Coach Dar, I want to introduce you real quick, and I want to dive in. We have an hour, and I'm so excited to have you. Um, so, occupational therapist,
Mm-hmm.
um, a master coach that worked with professional athletes in any professional sport we
Right.
can think of. Soon to be a New York Times bestseller, and
Right.
um, and bounced back yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you share with us your journey to not just to your book, but to the place you're in today?
Mm, that's many years, Amir. But it, you know, I started out as an occupational therapist, and my journey started really with a calling to take. I've always wanted to take care of people, help people, and I saw my family do that, and I've always been also for the underdog. If there's an underdog, I could remember just even as a child, I think I was vice president of my class in like 6th grade, and then president years later throughout school. And not because it wasn't because necessarily student council. It was because I wanted to be a voice for those who didn't have a voice. And if we wanted to affect change, let's affect change. So I clearly had that in me from an early age. And then when it came time, I went to school to become an occupational therapist, but I started out taking care of traumatic brain injured patients, stroke, brain injury, spinal cord. And you have to imagine these were people that were living their life just like you or I, and something catastrophic happened. and they are with me as patients for sometimes up to a year, and their whole life is flipped upside down. And I had to help them bounce back from what was truly what was thought of as impossible. They'll never walk again, they'll never talk again. And I would be like, that's rubbish. We're not going to listen to what they're saying. We're going to do the work. We're going to help you. So I would help them mentally, cognitively, physically, emotionally, if I could spiritually, and give them the tools so that they could have a true fighting chance. And a lot of them did. And ironically, I still keep in touch with some of the patients I had then. But I think about it now when I look at where I am today, coaching and advising athletes, CEOs, really leaders all over. And I'm helping them not only bounce back, but really get to their highest level with the gifts that they have. But that came from where I started, from obviously my board certification to the work that I did. But then, Amir, when I was 25, I had been married. We had just bought the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, being from an Italian family. It was like, let's get a family started. And I was excited about that. I was really excited about that. And I happened to go to a chiropractor, and a freak accident, just those things that just can happen. When they manipulated my neck, they ripped the artery to my brain. So the vertebral artery was ripped, and I was bleeding in my brain, and I did not know it. And I went home, and then but when my symptoms came later, I ended up going to the hospital, and they said, good news, bad news. They said, after they found this a while later, they said, the bad news is you suffered a stroke and you have a blood clot in your brain. And if it dislodges, you could die any day. Well, I'm 25, so I was not expecting to hear this. And they said, well, good news is over time, we think scar tissue will come around this and blood will create arterial supply to it. But I say this in the beginning because you're not equipped at 25. You're just not mentally equipped. You're not life experience equipped to even know how to bounce back. So, but when they said you could die any day, it's like something went off in me, and I was like, well, then I'm not going to have much fear. I'm just going to go, and I'm going to go do what I want to do and help how I want to help. So I thought I'd go and try to fix healthcare. And I say that, fix healthcare. Well, I obviously didn't win at that, but I tried. I went back to school for business at night. And then I was president of a healthcare company by 28 and had run a few different companies, which I think that was just, pure tenacity. And you had no more fear. So you just went after it and you found great people. But then in 2008, when a recession was hitting, I left everything that I knew to start my own practice then. And I didn't want to do it the same way. I didn't want to be running healthcare. I wanted to get people, help them. The recession's hitting, depression was on the rise, people were losing their jobs. And I thought, I know this is hard, but let me help you overcome this, because I help people overcome way harder odds than this. And it's all in shifting your mindset. And I'm like, well, that's natural to me. I could help you with that. So I started a practice, and I remember my father at the time, he's like, you have no clients, you have no business plan, and we're in the middle of a recession, and now is when you decide to start your practice? I said, yeah. He's like, is this because of the stroke? I was like, no, but it was, Amir, it was truly like a calling at that point. I mean, I was so convicted on going to help people. I was speaking for free on Mindset. I mean, wherever I could speak, I was speaking. I was like, you don't pay me. I just want to share this information. And then over time, people just got to know my work. And then I moved full-time to Nashville and started picking up more clients, executives, athletes. And by the way, coaching and mental skills training was on the down low then. No one was talking about it. It's not like it is now. And so doing executive coaching and doing mental conditioning work in both of those arenas was definitely not trendy like it is now. So pioneered that in a lot of ways in my own world, and it was hard. But I was so, again, it's this drive and passion that I had. And I started helping people break through mental barriers, bounce back from challenges they had because of all the tools that I've had since literally out of college. And that's led me to where my practice is today, which is being able to help graciously. I get blessed to be able to help some of the most amazing people at their highest level because it's lonely for them and they need a trusted advisor, and they still are dealing with things that they have to, but they need someone to help them along the way, just like we all do. So I feel very blessed to be able to do it. And I'll just say this last thing. That first stroke was the first stroke because I had a second one, I think it's 6 years ago, and a third one 3 or 4 years ago. And that was my worst one. That took away my speech where I could not come up with the words. I couldn't read a paper. I could see the words, but I couldn't read it. And fine motor, balance. I used to walk around and say, I'm not drunk. This is just how I walk now. But
Now you laugh
yeah,
at it.
so now I could laugh at it. But yeah,
And that wasn't
I
the
had
last one, right?
the third one was 3 years ago.
Wow.
Like 3 or 4 years ago. And the irony of that is my mom had a stroke. The month later, I had a stroke. The year after that, she passed away. The year after that, COVID hit. I mean, it was just like 2021, I had gone through like a heartache. And then 2022, just last year, I lose my father. I was like, okay. And I'm in the middle of writing The Art of Bouncing Back. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have enough material, everyone. I'm good.
I've definitely tested my method on my own life journey.
Yes. So that's how it brought me to where I am today.
So thank you for sharing all of this, because this is, in many cases we see coaches that, graduate a course or study something or even work in some coaching setting, but having a coach that, and this is something that we at Guiley preach many times, find a coach that walked the path that you're about to embark on,
Yes.
or that you're on, is so profoundly important, because you want to make sure that somebody really understand what you're going through. It may not be the same clinical medical issue, it may not be the same, but just having walked the path is so important that you do that. And I'm reminded to share with our audience, Darleen is going to donate some of your books that are coming out in the beginning of at the end of February, right? Or sometime in
February 28th. Yep.
And stay with us through the end of this, and we'll put a form here, and you may win a book. And I highly, having had a chance to look at the book, I highly encourage you all to read it. Whatever our life journey is, we have something almost at every given moment that we're bouncing back from, whether it's relationship, health, career. I mean, there is a constant, and we live in a society where uncertainty and polarity are just keep rising and rising, and developing that muscle of bouncing back is so critically important. So I know, I think somebody in the forward for your book says a dose of Dar. So I'm ready for a dose
of Dar.
So can you share with us? I know you have like 9 principles in the book that you share, maybe at a high level, if you're willing to touch each one of those 9.
Sure.
So we get an idea of what your prescribed journey to bounce back from any hardship or adverse circumstances we have in our life.
So the 9 principles were, when I had to sit down and think about this, the publisher was, talking about how do you help all these people bounce back? What is the method? And really at first, it just innately, I just knew what to do after all these years, and put together a formula without having put it to paper. It was the formula that I used. And so when I sat, I thought, well, what is truly this formula? How do you put this into words? And then it came to me. I mean, it just came because it was every day that I was doing this. And the first principle, one of the things that people often say is, Dar meets me where I am. And so that's why this principle is so important. It's because I'm not going to come along as soon as something hard happens to someone and say, well, let's just be positive and move through this. So principle 1 is called, it's like the military term, embrace the suck, because it is when you are going through something, the last thing you want me to come next to you and say, just turn the page on this. I can't get to turn the page, which is the last principle, unless I sat with you and said, okay, I am hurting with you. I feel this with you. We have to embrace this at some point. Like, I'm going to sit with you this, but we cannot change it. This is the reality. I mean, I started this when I had my patients, and it's like, when you're like, how did this happen? It's like, okay, it happened. Even my stroke, I'm like, the third stroke, I was sitting there going, we are on number 3 here, okay? And I thought in the ER, are we really doing this right now? We're doing this. And they're like, you've just had another stroke. I'm like, clearly, I could tell. And I thought, well, all right, we've got to embrace this. What are we going to do about it? And so the reason is because if we can't embrace it, it's going to be hard to move through it. It really is. It's going to be hard for me to get you to the next step. So the first one is embracing the suck, embracing where you are. And I break down a little bit of that in the book. But then I move to, once we embrace it, now I want to start building this mental foundation with you, which is understanding who you are. I promise you this is important, but this is where I start reminding everyone of what their fundamental hardwiring is. You could lose your job, you could lose money, you could lose your position, you could even lose some of your health to some extent. Maybe you can't exercise the way you used to, or you can't do certain things, but you still have your gifts and talents and knowledge and abilities to some extent within you. And so I help people start to write a confidence card, I call it. And I take them through where we're creating a confidence card, much like in sports, we have a scouting card. I just started to create confidence cards for my athletes, for the CEOs, for anyone I work with. I'll go, okay, let's start when they, I had an athlete that came off playing and he said, Dar, I suck. I'm terrible. And he's going off on how bad he is. And I said, hold up, you get about 2 minutes about saying this. I go, and then we're moving off of this. He's like, did you not see my game? I go, oh, I saw the game. That was terrible. I said, but you are not. There's the difference. You are not. I go, do you want me to remind you of the confidence card, the scouting card, all the things you're great at? Because I can. And he looked at me and goes, I know. I go, no, here's the thing. The game was bad. You're not bad. You are not. You're in the 1%. And so we all need to remember this. And when we get hit with adversity, we sometimes catastrophize it. And it's as if it's over for us, and that's why suicide sometimes is a challenge, because whatever the problem is, it feels like it's your whole life is done. But I promise you, if you keep working on this and you keep working on these tools that I share, you get better at doing this life, and it is not over. And anyone listening that's hearing my voice, which means they're still here, they have 100% bounce back rate. That is a stat I will bet on every darn day, because you've gotten back up and you're listening and you're trying again. But I have to get you to have emotional foundation, mental foundation with a confidence card and understanding who you are. That's principle 2.
Yeah, it's such a profound distinction. We say you may have done something bad, but it doesn't define you. You're not bad.
No.
Every one of us. And,
yes.
and having a bad game or a bad choice as a CEO or
sure.
bad partner, hey, I screwed it up or I did something bad. But okay. But
what are we going to do about it now?
That's that doesn't define me who I am. And I think the understanding who you are is so profound with really creating an identity, like who I am.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And once you understand this fundamental hardwiring, this core of who you are, and you really, once I've been coaching that dose of Dar and that through you and reminding you, you're solid on this. You are solid on this now. So whatever happens, we're going to always go back to this. So I created this like a circle that keeps going. So we could go, if we have to go back a little bit to go forward, it's not like this is linear, because there's nothing. I did not want this linear. Life is not linear. It's actually, I should have made it like spaghetti. It's all over the place. But so understanding who you are, then once we have those principles down, then I go to seeking and applying feedback. This is where it's important. Let's start seeking some feedback, because if you got into adversity, I want you to know, did you have a part in this? Is there a choice that you might have made, or is it just some awareness that you need to have around this? And I teach this because in the pros, we all know they play a game. They are getting feedback in the middle of the play. They're about to shoot a free throw and they're getting booed while they do it if they miss the shot, right? They come back to the bench. Not only are the players and the coaches giving them feedback on the iPad right there of what they might have done wrong or what they need to change, but the fans are telling them, Twitter's telling them. It's 24/7. So I'm trying to get people to start building mental resiliency, and I'll say start seeking and applying feedback the moment adversity happens, once you've gotten through, building that foundation. And I said, practice this, actually seek it, because the pros are great at this because they work through this. And so I said, most corporations, people are getting a review once a year and they're falling apart. So I want people to start getting used to this, where you could work on it real time. You don't have to wait a year to be getting feedback. You get it now. And I thought, could you imagine if someone was doing a PowerPoint presentation in the middle of it, someone goes, boo, that's terrible. They'd be like, who brought this cat in?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't do that. But I'm just saying that's what players do, have to deal with.
It's so true, because we consider feedback as criticism right away. It comes in, we get defensive so automatically in any setting. And I'm closer to the senior executive circle, less to the professional athlete. I could be a cheerleader maybe, but not necessarily a professional athlete. And even that, I'm not sure, that on a professional level. But the idea of getting feedback is so profound, because we're not hearing. I mean, we had a workshop here yesterday that talked about the ability to listen and create safe space of inner communication. And really the first place to do that is inside, where I am, I am safe. I can hear what I have to say, and I can sift through that and see what's in it for me, and what's not mine.
Right. It's so important. And the other thing I want to say on that is, usually when we seek and apply feedback, we're getting it from a trusted circle. I mean, if someone is giving you feedback that would not even be in the arena that you're in, doesn't have any idea, well, you could probably block that out. Like we're talking derby, put your blinders onto that. That's naysayers.
Yeah.
You could block that out. But your trusted circle, the people around you that care, seek and apply that. But also, we'll get to it, but with emotional intelligence, you want to have that on your feedback. Is it a relationship? Could you have chose maybe a different partner? Did you even take a position that maybe it seemed like shiny, it seemed like it would be good, but you really look and you're like, my lifestyle doesn't fit this, my skills and talents, I took this because it was more money, but it didn't even align with you. So this is where it's really important, because again, we're building resilience in you. We're building this mental foundation. So now we go to number 4, which is discovering your why power. This I get fired up on, because this has helped me through, especially through all of my strokes. When you have to get up every day and do something, you can only will yourself for so long. Your will give out if your why is not there. And the why is literally the reason that you choose to keep getting up, to keep fighting the good fight. It's usually considered your mission. It's your why statement. It's your power word. I put in the book all the different things people call this. I give an example of how you could get there, which would be, Mayor, if we were toasting to your 100th birthday, what is it that we'd all be saying? What is it that you'd want us to? You could start playing that out now. What is the movie being played back that is really your anthem, the theme of your life? That really starts to become your why. And mine is awakening greatness. So when I had my last stroke and I had to do all my own rehab, and there were times where I'm like, I could hardly even speak correctly, but I got up, and this is pre-COVID, and I started getting on Facebook Lives and just sharing messages, because I was like, well, I can't do it the way I used to at this moment, but I could still speak some and get myself into a normal pattern to try to awaken greatness. I'll be vulnerable. I'll be real. So I'm just going to meet people where they are, and hopefully they meet me where I am, but it got me through it. And then I was helping a team, and they happened to be in last place that year. And so I had to say to the players, obviously we're not going for a championship, but why are you getting up to go play right now? You've got to get real clear on that, because that's going to get you up when you're hurting, your body hurts. We're city to city. We're not even in a city 24 hours. and you've got to keep playing. You're being booed at, like all the odds are against you. Why are you still getting up? And when you get people to latch onto that why and the whole world that goes around that, it's like you're lit within now. And now I don't need to light a fire underneath someone. I could light a fire within them, and then they keep going. And if you're
Yes.
leading a company, this is the greatest thing you could do, because you can't carry everyone on your back, but light a fire within them, and then we all rise together. We all get through the storm.
Oh, that's so good. Light a fire within them, not under them.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And I think of the why as like Iron Man. Iron Man had the light source, that his charging source right in the
Yeah,
center of his
yeah,
chest.
yeah.
That's kind of what this is. It's like, this is when you get why power, your source is locked in. You're connected to something bigger.
It's really beautiful, because the understanding our why. I talk When I talk leadership, I talk a lot about alignment.
Yes.
and emotional intention and whatever, and when you are clear about your why, and you operate out of that why, this is really the path of least resistance, the
Yes.
flow you talk about, because I want to get to the benefits of the 9 principles here in a second, but it's beautiful. So I want to let you keep going, because I know we're on time, so I'm
I
trying to give
I know. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh, we got to keep going.
yeah,
And then the next one is, it goes so fast. Time always goes so fast. I
I
mean,
know.
geez. So the next principle is creating your bounce back environment. This is truly important, because what happens is, when you're going through adversity, you want to set up an environment that helps you. So sensory wise, when I help people come out of coma, I was engaging all of their senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, all of it. And I promise you, this will help you in the middle of adversity as well. So set up your environments now. I don't care if you're in a cubicle. I don't care if it's your car. I don't care if it's a small home, a large home. Keep your space so it's not cluttered. Clutter is chaos. And you have better thinking when things have a spot for them. But also, you want to have words, color, things around you that all feed sensory, so that it helps fuel you and not fight you. I helped a company once, and I remember walking into their lobby, and they're like, morale is down, everyone's down. And when I walked in, I'm like, the walls are gray. Like, I felt like I was in a jail. Truly. I was like, we can't, this sensory wise, none of this works. So they painted, they put like essential oils when you walked in, they had cookies when you walked in, they had blankets when they all met together. It shifted everyone's mindset. They were innovative. They ended up performing better. So when I say your environment matters, it matters. So you have to start setting it up so it helps you, not hurts you. It's kind of like when you're sad. Yes, it's a little cathartic to cry and listen to a certain song here and there, but you don't stay stuck in it. You're not going to play that every day. It's going to hurt you. You have to listen to something uplifting. So I
Right.
play something every morning. I'm listening to either, some message every single morning: podcast, message, sermon, YouTube video, motivation. I get ready in the morning, that thing's playing automatically. So I'm getting fueled what I need to. And then in my environment, I have inspirational quotes and everything all around. I wake up literally, right by my bed is a huge inspirational quote that says, write your own story. So I have it the moment I wake up. And by the way, Amir, bounce back environment, I have my Alexa set to a song every morning. So when my alarm goes off, an anthem goes off, a song, and I forgot what I set the night before. So when I wake up, it's already happy. So, but these are tricks to start setting your environment up so you're ready to go. I couldn't have this energy if I didn't fuel myself the right way. So you've got to do this, and it works. And then
The Atomic Habits.
yes, exactly. Stacking habits. I stack them and they work. I love that book. The next one is activating emotional intelligence. This is a big deal, people. You could be as smart as a whip, but if you have no awareness of how you are in certain scenarios or settings and how your presence affects that setting energetically, we are affecting everyone's energy fields here. So you really need to have some awareness when you come in a room, how you're showing up. Because if you're not aware of this, you could tend to put yourself sometimes in environments that hurt you, where you're going through more unnecessary bounce backs than you need to. You want to be aware of how you speak. You want to be how you show up. You want to be aware of your body language. I probably work in coaching, and I'm sure you do in everywhere you are, but there is so much work in emotional intelligence because it's considered a soft skill, which is hilarious to me because there's
Yeah.
nothing easy about it because you have to do a lot of reflection. But this is really, really important that you start to really dive into self-awareness, the awareness of space, the awareness around you, so that you can, one, you could put good boundaries with it when you know it. So should you need to, two, you could hold boundaries with yourself. You could set up your environment, but there's a lot that goes into this, but we'll just leave it as this is where you really have that emotional intelligence. And I would say, there's a lot of things to work on, but if everyone really truly worked on their own EQ and their own awareness of how they show up, we'd have a better place, a better space. Everyone would be getting a coach or coaching or learning or something. So stay in a growth mindset because that EQ doesn't work if you're not in a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And then the next one is reframing setbacks. So I call this in sports and in business, reframe the game. Kind of like when I started, where that player came off the ice and he was saying those negative things about himself. And I said, hold up, the game was bad. You are not bad. That's a reframe. So we catastrophize things. We sometimes make things, like I said, so large. It was a small problem. It's not the end of the world. And when you could learn how to reframe things, you might come down hard on yourself. I want you to write truth and false statements. Okay, what is it you're saying? And then what's the truth to this? Reframe these scenarios, because when you start writing it down, you're like, oh, well, that's not really right. That's not true. No, you start writing truth to it. The power's in the truth. Start speaking that back to yourself and stop listening to the false list. It will make a world of difference when you're trying to bounce back.
What's her name? The work that developed the work.
Was that Marion Williams?
No.
Williamson?
No, not Marion Williamson. I'm drawing a blank, but she has Byron Katie. Thank you. So Byron Katie has 4 questions. Yeah, and the first question, is it true? Like, write a statement and ask yourself, is it true? And the second question, is it really true? We tend to say yes, and then she says, okay, one more time, is it really true? So
then say, is it really, really true? No. Yeah. Our mind, my gosh, it's like what I said to someone, you wouldn't say some of the things you'd say to your best friend that you say to yourself. So why do you say it to all of us? So be kind to yourself. Truly be kind, reframe. And then the 8th principle is cultivating grit. I love this because I am all for dealing with it, going through it. But then there turns a point where you've got to get gritty. Someone recently said to me, Amir, because I've been going, obviously, shows and speaking and tours, and someone says, is this hard for you? Because your schedule is crazy. And I said, it's all perspective. Is it hard? I said, no, it's an honor. It's not hard. It's an honor. And I said, my uncle literally until he just retired, had to drill concrete every day in the East Coast, in the snow, in the heat, never complained. My mom, 3 jobs after a triple bypass. My mentor, 5 years old, lived through the Holocaust. People going in the military, literally someone I just talked to that just came home. We were getting on a plane. He's like, I said, oh, this is going to be a fun ride because it was an old plane. He goes, I've been on worse planes than this and been shot at. That's hard. These things are hard. And I'm not minimizing the pain, but sometimes the pain of just little things that are annoyances during the day, you could be grittier. You can get through it. You could distance yourself from the emotions of just reacting, and you could start to get gritty so that when things happen, you go, okay, let's reframe this. Let's get a little gritty on this. You could do this. And by the way, gritty too is sometimes in bouncing back, you just have to do some of the work that you don't want to do, but you can't get stronger. Did I want to get up this morning and go do this hard workout? No, but I don't want a 4th stroke, but I have to get up and do it. And there's points where I'm like, gosh, this is hard, so to speak, but you develop grit. I love grit. I think I think one of the things we could really teach a lot of the youth is how to be gritty, because they're going to face stuff when we're not here and we can't help them. And if they had grit and they built this grit, they're going to be much more apt to handle it better. And then the last one is turn the page. After you've gone through, say it's a heartache, job loss, even an addiction issue, marital problems, financial problems, just you messed up on something, you just had a hard year, whatever it is, there's going to come a point where you need to turn the page. You have to accept it. You've worked through it. You've made the changes you need to make within you so that it doesn't happen again, or if it does, you know how to adjust. But then you say, okay, it's time to turn the page. You've got to move on. And I know that when I wrote this chapter, I put in it, Matthew McConaughey had such a good line on this in his Green Lights book. And it was when a musician saw his high school coach come to the concert, and he was so excited. He loved this coach. So he goes to talk to the coach, sees the coach. Well, the musician had white powder on his nose, and the coach just gave the motion, like, wipe your nose. And when the musician went to the bathroom, he realized that it was cocaine on his nose, and he was mortified, could not sleep that whole night, goes and calls the coach the next day and says, Coach, I am so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I don't even want to live this lifestyle anymore. And you know what Coach said? Sometimes it's just time to turn the page. And he's quit and he moved on. And that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying sometimes let's just not keep putting more emotion into the pain of it. You've worked through it. You've dealt with it. Now turn the page from it. You don't need to sit with it anymore. You've healed. You've moved on, or it's just time. It's just time. So turn the page. So those are the principles.
Sometimes it's about writing the new page, right? Because you said
yes.
every day you wake up with that.
Yes.
You wake up
and
with that quote.
I love that. That's why this is a circle too, because you've turned the page and then you get to open up a new page. It's a blank page. It's the day to start a new masterpiece. Just start writing again.
So in the book, you talk about if you apply those 9 principles: flow, resilience, and greatness.
Yes.
Where do I sign up?
Why?
Where do I sign up?
Let's just hang out and I'll tell you all about it.
It's so it's great because it's our community, we do a lot of we share a lot about personal development, and we have a woo-woo scale, I call it, that more spiritual, less spiritual.
Yes.
And there is resistance is typically an indication for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you really develop or start applying those principles and you get into a flow, isn't that part of what we all want to be in, where it's easy, when we don't have to work against resistance?
Yes.
And find ourselves fulfilling our full potential, which to me, that is greatness. And being really resilient to changes and adversity, and being able to, whatever it is that is coming at us, being able to see it and accept it. And so I highly recommend prescribing to the 9 principles. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And flow is not forced. We all learn this through life experience, but you can't force anything. When you force it, it's like your hands are fisted. Nothing comes in and nothing comes out. You're already in fight mode, but when you release and you flow, look, everything comes in and it comes out. It's just a natural state. And flow is not controlled. There's no controlling on that. You don't have to control every aspect. Flow is where you've done the work, you've prepared, and then you just start, you're in your natural gifts and abilities. And it's just like Picasso painting, it's just so natural. So when you work on these things, life is not going to get easier. You do better at how you handle life. It doesn't get easier. You get better. And when you get better at this, you get back into flow. And I literally, all of the people that I've worked with, I just texted someone the other day and I said, you're in flow state. And he goes, I know, this is the best feeling. I said, I see it now. We've been working together for so many years. And he naturally knows how to just course correct on his own now. It's been 4 years, and I'm so proud of him. And then there's another person that I coach that I think of that just recently in business, something that would have normally rocked their world in the past, they got through it so well, and then even elevated their career even higher. And I go, welcome to the zone. And they're like, this is the best ever. They're like, I wouldn't have been able to do this had I not had the foundation of this. And I said, that's because you did the work. I mean, he always came and did the work, and he's running a successful company now. And when you do this, and truly, I mean, I shared the story of the things that I've went through. And even after my father just passed, I had to go give a speech, and I had to get back into, I was accepting an award, actually, a coaching excellence award in pro sports right after. And I thought the irony of that, because my father was a coach, so I dedicated to him, but I was able to still grieve, but get back into flow. And I had the resiliency because I had to get up. I had to go help players and CEOs that I had, and I had to keep working. And I just was in flow. I was mentally resilient, and it was pure joy. It was just purpose. So these are the same things that I use, and I use with everyone. So if you apply it, you'll be in it.
You radiate flow. So I just want to read back to you. You radiate flow. So I wanna mention one more time to those of you who are still with us that we're gonna drop here in a few minutes a form, and Guidely would love to buy you. You get to win a boot that we're gonna give some of our people who participate here, and we're gonna get ready for some Q&A. So those of you who would like to ask a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. Now would be a good time. I see that we have a Vincent Grolu from Belgium. That's so awesome.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for
What
joining
time
us
is it there?
It's got to be night or
Morning.
something, but thanks for joining us, Vincent.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about, if I'm not a professional athlete and I'm not a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, I'm going to the office in the morning, and here I'm about to break up with a partner, or breaking up or doing financial, hardship, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Like, where do I start? Like, what's the first thing you go to? Embrace the suck.
First, I just want to, embrace it. But I want to also just pour into that, which is, I promise you, the human spirit is way more resilient than we give it credit. And we've watched this over history. I mean, you just watched the movie Unbreakable, which the gentleman was I just watch I watch that. I'm like, okay, I'm back. I could handle anything. It's unbelievable what the human spirit could do. So I want to remind you, whatever you're going through, heartache, you just lost your job, you are in financial distress. I've gone from having it, not having it. We had trouble even sometimes getting groceries. Having it, not having it. It will ebb and flow. It's just going to ebb and flow. But I will go back, write the list. What are you good at? What are your gifts and talents? Because when you take your gifts and talents and you look at where it meets the world's needs, there's somewhere in your community, in your space or place, that they could utilize what you have. When you sit on that, that will start to give you some confidence to say, okay, how am I going to get it back up and apply this now? And when you go apply it in that way, you will get into flow faster, and you'll get something faster because you're applying to something that you're naturally gifted in, and it just helps you. So that will start to get you confidence, and also get in motion. Because when we start to hit distress, yes, there's a time to pause, to reflect, to meditate, to pray on it, to do all of that. I want you to do it, but you cannot sit for too long, because the chemicals of the brain change. We start to isolate. I know this movie. Don't subscribe to it. Get up, call someone, go somewhere, apply for something. You have to take action, and my father was tough on us, but he and my mother, and they'd be like, you've got to get up and you've got to try again. Like, you can only sit so long in this. So I know that it's hard, but sit down, write on paper tonight if you're listening, What are your gifts and talents? Who needs that? Start calling people, start going places, and start talking about it. One thing I will say is I have a hard time asking for help. I know it's crazy, but I would rather help someone than receive help, which is
Me
silly
too.
because I need help. Yeah. And even sharing about the book, sometimes I'm like, oh, just here, you could have it, just check it out. But what I want to say is when you start saying, I need help, you won't believe the people that want to help you. And I have had help from strangers. I've never really met a stranger, but I mean, the people that I hardly know that have wanted to help me. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It'll get you in motion.
That's so beautiful. And we have another person here, Gail, from Mexico. So thanks for joining us from Mexico. We have
Thank you.
people from all over. So we interviewed, did a workshop here in December with Kyle Cease. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
Kyle, but, an actor, spiritual teacher, comedian. Uh,
Beautiful.
and at the end of the workshop, he did an exercise. He calls it Kailego, where he invites somebody to, in this case, to imagine where would I be in a year from now.
Hmm.
Um, where is Coach Dar a year from now? So New York Times bestseller, we already established. What else? Where are you a year from now? Wild.
I am still doing what I'm doing. I'll be working on my second book because I already know what I want that to be. Very passionate about it. So working on the second book, and I'm working on a project that is a collective. It's the Coach Dar Collective. So I really want to be able to get out the things that I know really help and heal, from the brain to the body to the spirit, and giving people more tools. So hopefully there might be a more array of things that you could choose from that will help you, that I've learned throughout the years. And I'll still be me, still doing what I'm doing, just have more offerings, I think, for people. I might be a little less personally available because I have a goal after 3 strokes that the doctor's like, you need to find a way to be able to have a little downtime. So I hope I get to take a month off in the summer or something. But I hope that I get to continue, honestly, in a year from now, that I could reach more people, Amir. I hope that in a year from now, I'm able to reach more people, more lives before I go.
Let's quantify. So a year from now, you're a New York Times bestseller, book one. You're writing down. You're in the process of writing second book, creating a
Mm-hmm.
collective. You're touching millions of people around the globe. You're doing short-term speaking engagements.
Yep.
The rest, you're grounding in a place of comfort and growth and abundance, and filled with love and creativity and power. How does that
Mm-hmm.
feel? Can you
Oh,
see that?
that feels, yes, yes. It feels beautiful. And I
Right?
receive that and would like that.
That would be the next page in the book, right? Because we just are writing the
Yes,
next page. Yeah, that's
exactly.
so awesome. So I'll remind you when we speak. We'll talk a lot more between now
Yes,
and a year, but we'll
yes.
do this again a year from now. Remember we
Perfect.
talked a year ago, and you
Yes,
said
yes,
bestseller, and even with the book, I was having hard time, and I had to travel all
yes.
those places, and I had to, and all of a sudden, millions of people around the book. I already have pre-sold this book, and this is
Mm,
incredible, and so
mm,
many people impacted by it, and you feel wholes, and you do virtual
mm-hmm.
workshops from your place of comfort and
Yes.
safeties. Yeah.
And I'd even like to do, once a year, a global workshop where people can meet and we can work through some things for a week somewhere and truly give people what they need. Fill them.
So I wanna share here a question from somebody from the audience. Hi, Katya, and thanks for asking. Um, Love your spirit so much. She's talking to you. Can you say something about synergy when collaborating with others in flow? Do you have a personal story about this?
When
Thank you
collaborating
for
with, thank you so much. And I appreciate the question. But when collaborating with someone about synergy, when collaborating about with others in flow, Well, first of all, what's cool about synergy is you know when someone else is in flow because the synergy is there. The conversation is just going. It's like a beautiful ping pong session that's going on. You're volleying, they're taking. So you want to be looking for this happens so much with my best friend. Her and I have so much synergy and we flow naturally. We think on the same level. And I would say that oftentimes you do want to be with you want all people, but when you're trying to work on something, they have to have the elevated mindset. So you're about to bring an idea to someone, you want to talk about something. Make sure that they are comprehending what you're saying where and they could volley with you on it. They could elevate your mindset. They could draw out some creativity with it. They raise the energy along with you because that's where the flow starts coming. But if you're with Debbie Downer at the moment and it's a naysayer, there's no flow there because they're limiting what your brain could think. And we could think far larger than what we realize too. I mean, any innovation in this world has become because a human thought it was possible. So Katina, really be around people when you want to synergize and you want to be with others and flow that really could flow with you, and be selective when you're bringing an idea around other people about who you're bringing it around. Because when you get in a space where other people could flow with you, creativity, genius, stroke of genius, all of it starts coming out. And like, I get excited even just talking about it because I know that feeling when it happens where I mean, literally, I could be with someone and 3 hours goes by. Like someone just a couple weeks ago, he and I were in conversation for 3 hours. I could have talked for 3 more hours with him, no problem, because we were in such a natural cadence of flow. So for everyone, be around people that do that to you and you do that to them.
Thank you, Katya, for the question, and thanks for the beautiful answer. I think when we're in a state of flow, whether it's just us or whether it's with others, we know in the body. Again, we talked about it yesterday in a workshop with one of our with Cynthia Crane. The body knows, right? If we get contracted, if we get defensive, if we get ready for
Right.
You talked about the fist, right? Or if we're in a state of ease and we know that we're dropping something, we know that it's not fully ready, somebody else is listening, and start, oh, maybe this, maybe that, and it becomes and something new comes out of that. By the way, we have Nagori from Australia too. So we really
worldwide
have
today.
You wanted? Did you say a year ago that you wanted to do a global talk?
I did.
Why?
I actually
Why wait?
did.
So why wait that long? You have
We're
Netherlands,
there.
Mexico, Australia, Vietnam.
Yes.
Hello, Jolie
Hello.
from Vietnam. I mean, we have people from all over the world. This is incredible.
This is beautiful.
So are there any questions from our audience here that I'm missing, because you guys are following the chat and I may be missing something? Another question I want to ask you that I love asking some of the people that inspire me the most is, I know you talked a little bit about your morning, but what is your daily routine? How do you maintain that level of, because our energy level throughout the day, we may need to bounce back throughout the day. How do you maintain that high level of vibrancy and energy throughout the day, and the flow and the resilience and the greatness?
I will tell you, when I traveled with the Phoenix Suns, I learned so much about managing energy, because you have to imagine they go, 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 and then they have to perform at a high level. And so, I start off my morning when I get up, I listen to a song because that's my alarm as soon as it goes off, and I'll say a quick prayer. And then I go and I exercise right when I wake up. And then I meditate after, for me. So because if I don't move, if I meditate, I could stay in meditation for a long time and then I'm not moving. So I have to go move. Then I come back and I meditate, and then I get ready. And when I'm getting ready, I'm listening to something to fill my mind. So I fill my body, I fill my spirit, I fill my mind, and I'm ready to go in the morning. And then I could start, in neuroscience, there's peak times that our brains go. 10 a.m. is like a peak time for me. So I know that that's where I want to be in my sweet spot, doing like some of my heaviest work around like the 10 to 2 or 3. And then if I've been traveling a lot, I started to master the power nap. So I could literally shut my eyes for 15, 20 minutes. And I actually did that because I was doing back-to-back shows today. I did a power nap before I came on. And when I got up, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. The problem is I might not be able to go to sleep later. But I've known how to manage this because when I travel or even when I'm speaking, sometimes it's day, sometimes it's night. So I have to manage because I might have to be on early in the morning or I might have to be on at 7, 8 at night. So I really have to manage my time. But when you watch it and you manage it, I use music, I use comedy, I use naps, I use essential oils. Like there's a lot of things that I do to help manage my energy throughout the day. And getting outside, moving. I try not to sit for too long. Plus, it's hard for me to sit too long. I'm standing
Yeah.
as I do this.
Yeah. And I wanted to tell you that another trick that I may recommend you is buying another watch that always shows you that it's 10 a.m. somewhere.
Oh,
So
really?
it is your peak time.
Oh,
No,
that's so good, Amir.
I just made it up.
It's 10 a.m. right
Because
now.
it is,
Someone's
you
watching
look
and
like
it's 10
you
a.m.
look like during your peak time, so it must be 10 a.m. for you somehow.
It's because I took my nap, my power nap.
That's awesome. So you have a lot of love here in the chat from many people
Oh,
that love your spirit, love your energy, love you, Dar. Keep letting here. Look at this, Denise. Thank you, Denise. This is so beautiful. You have a lot of that. You'll see that later. Um,
okay. I
really.
can't see it, but I'm so glad.
Oh, um, let me try. Do you
I
see it
wonder if
now?
oh, it's my sister. Ah,
Oh,
I love her so much. Oh, that makes me
oh,
so happy. I hope he hears this. My sister's been
thank
my
you.
rock. My sister and my
That's so awesome.
brother-in-law, they and my nephews and my whole family. They are, yeah, Denise, I love you. Makes me so
That's so
happy.
awesome. Thanks for joining us, Denise. Also, Lini's daughter.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yep.
Yeah. Don't you don't? A friend of mine says that you don't find pears under an apple tree. So, Dar, I want to thank you. I really enjoy this, and I feel like we can go for hours more. I know you have another engagement right after this. I want
Yes.
to thank all the people who joined us tonight. And we dropped the form already, right? So those of you who want to fill out the form, we would love to. We're going to give away some books of the art of bouncing back, and it is an art, and
Yes.
you're a master artist. So thank you for sharing with us your wisdom, your book.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to. I read a little bit of it. I'm excited to read the rest of it. It's really great. So
Thanks, Amir,
New
for
York,
having me on.
New York Times bestseller.
Oh, you've
I
heard
love and
it. You
adore
heard
you.
it first.
I love you, and I'm grateful for you
Love
doing
you.
this. And I'm going to see you very soon in person,
Yes.
right?
Yes. See
Thanks
you
so
very
much. Thank
soon.
you, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.